All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to try to make a quick video here. So, someone made an interesting comment on one of my videos asking what professions I would go for Shaman in Classic World of Warcraft Hardcore. And after thinking about it, I realized I was actually kind of wrong and I could actually do it much better. So the first thing I did was suggest go engineering for all the reasons that people normally go engineering. The early, stamina spirit goggles, the recombobulator ray trinket that has like 100% spell power ratio behind it. That's not really going to matter while you're leveling, but it gives you 250 HP and 250 mana to work with that you can get like super early on your character. Goblin mortars of course, are absolutely amazing. What else is there to say about engineering? You have access to grenades, and above all, you have access to target dummies, right? And the reason why target dummies are amazing on Shaman, the reason why you're going engineering is specifically for target dummies, for example, as a Paladin, I have Bubble and Bop, but specifically Bubble, reserved specifically for when I need to run for my life, and I'll pair that with a Swiftness potion, right? Bubble, Swiftness potion, a Paladin can pretty much run and survive in any situation in the entire game, right? It's almost impossible to die as a Paladin if you have Bubble available in a Swiftness potion. So as long as I hold that in reserve, I'm good to go. As a Shaman, you can achieve something very similar. This is my first thought process before I corrected myself. You can achieve something very similar with by dropping an Earthbind totem and a target dummy, because as a Shaman, you can't drop both a Stoneclaw totem, which will taunt people, and a Earthbind totem, which will AoE slow everyone at the same time. They're both an Earth totem. But what you can do is you can drop an Earthbind totem and you can drop a target dummy at the same time, which will act like a Stoneclaw totem. It'll give your Earthbind totem multiple pulses, like a good 3 or 4 pulses to actually get everybody slowed, and gives you plenty of time to basically run the hell away. And my first thought, of course, was you pair that with a Swiftness potion and you're super gone. You can use that to get away a lot like a Paladin would with Bubble, right? However, after thinking about it for a hot second, I realized that free action potion is even better than Swiftness potion in this particular case. And the reason for this is because, unlike a Paladin, you don't have freedom. So if you get hit with a net or you get webbed or anything like that, it's really, really bad. Again, Calamity, the Paladin Calamity, has a video on how leashing works in Classic World of Warcraft. A lot of people think it's related to distance. It's not. I need to run a certain distance away from the mob in order for them to stop chasing me. The way it actually works in Classic World of Warcraft is the mobs chase you for a set amount of time, and that time increases with level. So when you're in the early levels, they might chase you for 10 seconds. By the time you get up to Silithus leveling, they're chasing you for 16 seconds. But what causes their chase time to reset is basically if they're standing still for more than a second. And no, I'm not joking about that. So when you stop and you hard cast heals on yourself, the reason why it's resetting their timer is not because you're putting aggro on them from your healing. It's because you had to stop and hard cast a heal spell. If that makes any sense, because it's going to take you longer than a second. The mob probably stopped and attacked you for a second. Oh, look, their leash timer reset. It's like, what the hell is this mechanic? But anyways, my point here is that if we use a Swiftness potion, we're still going to have to run away for, 15, 16 seconds, something like that, which can get us into trouble because we'll be running off into Narnia, and there might be more and more mobs out there. We just need a ton of space to run away with a Swiftness potion. Although when you're good with Swiftness potions, you just kind of run in like a semicircle, just play keep away for 16 seconds, and you're basically good to go. Free action potion doesn't have this problem, but when Shamans get snared, they die. Right? Because then the mobs are going to catch up to you, and then their leash timer is going to reset, even if you just stand there and look stupid, because they're beating on you for more than a second, and you're just giga dead at that point. So your best course of action is Earthbind Totem, followed by Target Dummy, and then you drink a free action potion, and then you make your run. Talent-wise, it's highly suggested that you have at least 21 talent points into the resto tree, so you pick up Nature Swiftness, right? Again, Nature Swiftness is like it has no GCD. It allows you to cast a very powerful healing spell like instantaneously. That instant cast heal spell is basically your protection from enemy like ranged attackers, if that makes any sense. So, for example, when you're running for your life, you might also have to be running from like 3 fireballs that are flying through the air, and you're like half life. Well, you might live or you might die in that situation, but if you have Nature Swiftness, you can just, snap your fingers and have more than enough health and more than enough time to get out of this, get distance on those spellcasters or ranged enemies that are doing so much damage to you. Why that's important is because you're not really going to have anything else. At best, you've got like your Recombobulator Ray Trinket that'll heal you for a little bit. Later on, you'll get Whipperroot Tuber, but that's not true. Recombobulator Ray and Whipperroot Tuber share a cooldown. What else is there to say? Yeah, if we're using our potion to help us run away, it suddenly becomes important that we have some kind of instant cast heal, or we just run away sooner under certain circumstances. But that solves the problem. But the point I'm trying to make here is that once we get 21 points into the resto tree, we can then go into the enhancement tree. And it doesn't take very long in the enhancement tree before you get like improved Ghost Wolf. You're probably level 40-ish or somewhere around there by the time I think you get Ghost Wolf, or you're closing in on level 40. Improved Ghost Wolf with this combination, like at some point I don't know how you die, right? So you're looking at a shaman who is theoretically in my brain wearing a shield, okay? The shaman is if it needs to run away for its life, it can put down an earth binding totem followed by a target dummy, and then it can drink a free action potion, and then it's like a 1-second cast for it to get into Ghost Wolf form for the increased movement speed. And at that point, nothing in the world is catching you. On top of that, you have Nature Swiftness, so if for some reason you have to survive like 3 to 4 enemy spell casts that might chunk you for like half of your life, you got no problems also there basically whatsoever, right? Sometimes those spell casts might be like Frost Bolts, which can be even worse because when you drink the free action potion, it's not going to remove the current slow on you, so you might have to run away at slow speed, so you might get a second round of incoming Frost Bolts before, it finally wears off and you can just zoom away. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Again, Nature Swiftness. Nature Swiftness is a key component of that run for your life. But once you start pairing all that stuff together, and you have a class that, just like Paladin, is going to be able to get out of any sticky situation, pretty much regardless of the scenario. I even think you can, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can use Ghost Wolf in caves and stuff as well. It's actually pretty interesting. Or I might be wrong about that. Hard to say. I remember them using them in the tunnels in like Warsong Gulch. Can't remember if I can use Ghost Wolf in caves or not, and in dungeons and stuff like that. I think I can, but I could be wrong about that. The last thing to talk about is something I don't often, or I talked about in a video I made a while back, and I, of course, deleted this visual aid, so that's why I have it popped up here right now. But I ended up doing like an hour-long video and, showing me and my Paladin gear taking on like some of the scary fights in Duskwood? No. In the Dark Shore here. But I started off the video by talking about something Paul Harrell turned me on to, the late, great Paul Harrell turned me on to, known as I think it's called an action plan. I could be wrong about that. Is an action? No, it's not an action plan. It's like a. Damn, I forget the terminology that he loved to use. But the idea behind it is to, when you sit back in hardcore and you're like, okay, this is the class I'm playing, this is the situation I'm in. Here's like the 200 things I could do to help me survive and level faster and better and all that stuff in classic World of Warcraft hardcore. Well, a 200, action point list isn't very useful. You need to boil that thing down into something that, yeah, I take it, yeah, it's called actionable, I think. No, it's not called actionable. It's compliance, right? Um, Damn, what is that terminology? Something compliance. Action compliance? No, whatever. Anyways, I can describe it, but I can't remember how Paul Harrell used to say it, which is funny because I just remembered it this morning. But the idea is boil it down to the absolute bare minimum of the stuff that you need. Like, what is the bare minimum things that I need to adhere to in my hardcore play? Period. End of story. And of course, why you want the shortest list possible, and then basically to just refuse to deviate from this thing. So this is the one I, of course, have for Paladin. You can see here that number one is have a speed potion. Number two is kill on the edges, plus have a safe place to run at one's back. This basically just means like it also goes in line with don't go in caves. This basically just means that if I'm going to be running away with bubble and a speed potion for my life, I want to be running into a safe area, like towards a road or someplace I know that doesn't have a lot of mobs. I don't want to be running deeper and deeper into Narnia and then find myself Half Life and out of mana suddenly have to fight like one or two mobs for my life. That's a terrible idea. So at all times I need to have a safe place that I know I can run back to when I'm fighting mobs. Or just be mindful of where I'm going to run if things get scary, right? And that goes in line with speed potion. Number three on my list here is sword and board. I absolutely refuse to use a two-handed weapon. I'm never ever using a two-handed weapon. When I die, I've always been using a two-handed weapon, and that's antithetical to my guides. One of my goals for this hardcore run is to literally adhere to my own damn hardcore guides and just see if I even know what the hell I'm talking about. So sword and board only all the way to 60, which I've been adhering to very, very well. I've been adhering to all this stuff extremely well. Bubble and bop, like I already talked about, only used to run. Literally, I never use bubble or I never use bop unless it's like, to save me from fall death. But they're exclusively used to run for my life and no other purposes. That falls in line with the speed potion and everything else we've been talking about. Help save no one. That's also a really big one, because AoE aggro in Classic World of Warcraft is really, really goofy. Like group aggro is really, really goofy. So, like, let's say there's a person dying and I try to help them with a spell, right? Whether I succeed in saving them or not, when they're done chasing that guy for however many seconds they're going to be chasing that guy, they're going to turn around and chase me for the exact same amount of seconds. This is why when you're in a 5-man group, the enemies will basically chase you guys forever. It's because they're chasing one guy for like 10 seconds, and then this other guy for 10 seconds, and then this other guy for 10 seconds, and then this other guy for 10 seconds until they run out of people to chase for however long they're chasing people. And if you keep doing aggro on them, they're just gonna keep resetting that and keep chasing you. I've died before by helping people, so that's on the list. Save no one. But I'm not very good at adhering to that. But what I am good about these days is I'll at least think very, very deeply before I actually help somebody, if that makes any sense. Number 6 is no caves. No caves is also in line with number 2 up there. Where the hell am I going to run to if I'm in a damn cave? You're always going to have respawns at your back. So why the hell are we even going in caves? What else is there? Level in DC-less hours and days. So for me over here in China, that means I can't really level on the weekends. And like right now, it's like 11 o'clock at night. Terrible time for leveling. In a couple of hours, I'll be able to level, but right now it's just awful, which is why you're getting a Pally Time video here instead. But yeah, so that's my bare minimum list of things to adhere to as a Paladin. As a Shaman, this list would look kind of similar but different, right? So you would, rather than it saying have a speed potion, it would say something like have a speed potion and free action potion, kill on the edges / have someplace safe to run to. Makes perfect sense. Sword and board only would be something you'd want to adhere to. Bubble, bop, only used. Yeah. So this one would say something instead like potions are only used for running. Like literally, potions are only used for running. If you're forced for whatever reason to heal pot yourself, it better be a cold day in hell. Or it better been like, you know, something where like, oh, I'm like half life. I think I'll go for a heal myself, heal on myself, and then you suddenly discover the mob has a kick or a knockdown, so they just perfectly interrupt your heal, and then you're looking at a situation where you just can't heal yourself again in time, so you like roll your eyes and you actually use a health potion. That better be like at that. It better be a surprise, motherfucker. Is basically what I'm saying here. It better be like, oh shit, because you need those potions basically for running away. You'll notice that I don't have that on this list. I don't have like, you know, I have health potions on my paladin, but they're like they're there specifically for that reason. So that's probably something I should write down here. Help no one should also be a thing that you super consider. Your totems are cancerous ass for pulling mobs, especially if there's lots of patrols around. So as a shaman, you might need to put on this list, don't level in areas where there's lots of active patrols going on. That's basically the definition of barrens. Almost everything in the barrens is an active patrol area, which is why its barrens is so incredibly lethal. And your totems just do not help with that at all. So I might put that on the list as a shaman. No caves is probably something everybody should have on their list. And then, of course, don't level in no DC hours. But that's just my thoughts on the subject. I would definitely take engineering because you can start chaining together enough stuff with engineering as a shaman that it basically gives you the equivalent of just like, you know, bubble and run plus freedom. With bubble, speed potion, and then run with freedom. And at that point, I literally don't know how you die. Anyways, I'll end the video here, and Data's fault.